Well, hello, and welcome back to Curless Mania, where we talk all things pop, rock, and prog. Hope you're having a great day today. Doing something a little bit different on my channel here. Was wondering what I was going to do this week as far as content, and it kind of hit me the other day. I thought, you know what? How about albums that disappointed me when they came out, and they're still sort of disappointing to this day? Um, I just thought it would be kind of a cool thing to do, something a little bit different. I usually try to stay on the positive track on my channel. I think I've done a pretty good job of that. But let's be honest, there are times where maybe even some of your favorite bands can put out an album, and a lot of these are. You put out an album and you just go, wow, this album's not up to scratch. I don't like it very much. And even when you revisit it, you're still not feeling it. It's like, I'm not sure, something off about this record, and sometimes it's hard to put your finger on why. Sometimes you can sort of figure out why, but I'm sure you all can relate to this. This is something universal and a lot of times you're disappointed because your expectation is so high, right? You have this expectation for this particular band, and maybe even the previous album that they put out was so good that your expectations might be ramped up quite a bit. So your expectations are way up here, and you're waiting for that next album to drop, and it comes out, and you listen to it, and you're going, oh, this isn't as good as I thought it was going to be. And it might be because of those raised expectations. Um, so, so I'm going to say that right off the top. However, these are also albums where you kind of say, I've tried. You hear that from a lot of YouTubers and a lot of fans with us. Like, I tried with this. I keep trying, and it's just not hitting me. And that's sort of the similar track to what I'm talking about here. So let's get right to it. I went through my CDs and I just quickly, there wasn't anything scientific. I just went through my CDs and kind of went, oh, this one, like real fast. And so it's just really, really kind of quick off the top of my head. So let's start with this one. Zooropa by U2. Um, I thought Octung Baby was a great record. I thought that you could tell that they spent a lot of time and effort, and it was really a reinvention of their sound and their image and everything. And nobody was expecting it, especially after Rattle and Hum. That was another sort of mild disappointment album when it came out after Joshua Tree. But he said, Bono said something to the effect at the end of that tour, well, we're going to have to go away and dream it all up again. And they did. They disappeared. I mean, U2 just kind of disappeared for that time period, especially. They were like off the map for a while. And turns out they went to Berlin and with Brian Eno and went and made this sort of like atmospheric sort of dancey, psychedelic. I mean, there's all these different words you could use, but really what it comes down to, they had a great bunch of songs too. I mean, that album is just banger. But when this album came out, they were originally this was going to be an EP, and they were going to put out an EP for the Europe part of the Octung Baby tour, because that tour went on for a really long time. And so this was originally going to be an EP, and I guess they were riding high at the time, so they thought, you know what, let's just crank this out. Let's just get a couple more songs on there, making it a full-length record. And I think that suffered. I think that's why this album suffers. I think that they kind of rushed through the second half of it, because there are some, and on all of these records I'm going to show, there are some highlights here and there, right? And this one does have some highlights. I mean, the Zooropa is a pretty cool track. Stay Far Away So Close is a really good song. Some Days Are Better Than Others is pretty cool, but generally the rest, there's a lot of filler on here. I mean, there's there's a couple songs I really don't like at all. Babyface I don't like Lemon. I don't like The Wanderer, which is Johnny Cash at the end. It's like, what is this? Like, there's just a lot of like filler, and there's a lot of B-side filler material. You find out later that some of this stuff was left off of Octung Baby, and you can kind of understand why. So yeah. So this album, when it came out, I remember listening to it and going, it's okay. It's got some songs on it, but it should have been an EP. I mean, I think they were right. They should have kept this an EP, and it would have been a banger EP. But as a full length, not so much. Okay, let's move on to Jaco Pastorius, Word of Mouth. This was like his second official solo record that he put out right after he left Weather Report. Or actually, I think he was making it while he was still in Weather Report, but he was kind of on his way out. And His first solo album I thought was fantastic. I love that debut from 1976, and it's just so kinetic, and it's just amazing. It's just got all this, got everything that's good about Jaco. It's got like the harmonics, it's got the crazy playing, it's got some funk and soul on it. You know, it's got everything that's great about it. But this album was more of like he was trying to be a composer, and he did charts, and he has like a horn section, and um, there's this weird song. It starts off with this song called Crisis, which is almost dissonant at times, and I just, that starts it off badly. You're kind of like, oof, like this is how you're starting this album. And there's some decent stuff on here. It's Three Views of a Secret's pretty cool. Liberty City's pretty cool. I don't know. I don't like Crisis. I don't like, the Word of Mouth is okay. John and Mary's pretty good. I mean, it's got moments on it. It's not. It's got. There's just something about it I don't like. I don't really. It seems overdone and overcooked a little bit to me. And some people might rip on me for this, but I just think it's a little bit overdone. And I think he was going for something a little bit different, which is great. There are some moments on this, but I just don't like it as much. Every time I go back to it, I just don't like it as much as the debut. So it felt like a step down for me. Okay, let's keep going. Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Black Moon. I already did a video on this, comparing this to the '86 album, Emerson, Lake and Powell. And we were pretty kind to this record, but generally it still felt like a step down after. I thought Emerson, Lake and Powell was a pretty cool record. I thought that was kind of a cool, energetic comeback in 1986, and I saw the tour, and the tour was successful, and I just thought Cozy Powell did a pretty good job, even though he's not Carl Palmer. I mean, let's be clear, he's not Carl Palmer, but I thought they did a cool version of ELP in '86, and I think some of the songs on that record are still kind of underrated. So I was really excited when Palmer actually came back and they did a full-scale ELP reunion for this album, and I remember hearing Black Moon and going, it's okay. That was the single, and I was like, and that's the title track, and that's the single. Oh boy, I just remember being kind of like, it's okay. Paper Blood, I remember hearing on the radio. I thought that was, again, okay, pretty good, not bad. It didn't really sound like ELP. Whereas I felt like the song, what is it, The Score, I thought that sounded like classic ELP back in '86. When this sounds more like they're going for AOR hits. But there are moments on this. Changing States is a cool instrumental. There are some good, Better Days. Footprints in the Snow is kind of cool, sort of like a acoustic Greg Lake thing. There's some good stuff on here, but like Affairs of the Heart, I really don't like. There's a couple things on this I just don't like. And it just, and like I said, the singles kind of were like, eh. So just this album just felt like I was all excited when this album came out. I heard about it. And then when I actually heard the album, I was like, it's okay. I still feel kind of that way about it. Okay, yes, Big Generator. I kind of feel bad putting this album in here because I do like a lot of this record, but it's not 90125. Let's be honest. 90125 was a great comeback. People thought Yes was dead. I mean, and maybe that was part of the thrill of when, Owner of a Lonely Heart came out and was huge, and it was on MTV and it was on the radio, and it really brought Yes back from the dead. Recruiting Trevor Rabin, and Trevor Horn is producing, and that album just sounds so good. It feels so good. I mean, even to this day, I love 90125. There's just something about it. A lot of people don't love it. Classic Yes guys don't like it as much. I still think it's a very strong album for what it is, and I was waiting for this. This was an album I was really waiting for. I mean, I couldn't wait for the next album. I was like, oh my, because I had bought, 90125. I bought 9012 Live. I didn't see the tour. I'm not quite sure why. I was old enough to go. I don't know why I missed that tour. But anyway, wish I had seen that tour. But I did go to see this tour. I saw this tour, but I was waiting for this, and it took forever. I think it was like 3 years by the time this thing came out. I was like, when is this going to come out? I just kept waiting and waiting, and then I Love Will Find a Way came out, and I do like that song. I got to say, I think that's a really strong single. I think if the whole album sounded like Love Will Find a Way, I'd be like into this record. But Rhythm of Love is pretty cool too. But like really, and Shoot I Aim Low is another highlight. So, but things, there's like, Big Generator, it's kind of trying to be Owner of a Lonely Heart, but not nearly as successful. Almost Like Love, it's okay. Finalize is kind of cool. I'm Running, it has some cool bass work on it, some cool stuff, but and then Holy Lamb is kind of it's like a John Anderson song. It's kind of out of place on this album. So I don't know. And it feels a little overcooked. This is another overcooked where I think they spent too much time on the production. I think Trevor Horn left in the middle of this album because he was fed up. So that tells you something. I know there was some, like, John Anderson had fully been in the band when this album started, so there was some more conflict, I think, on direction. Because I remember hearing Trevor Rabin say that Holy Lamb, it just doesn't fit on the album, and it's a John Anderson song. So there was some, like, battles going on during the making of this album, and you can kind of feel it. It just 90125 just feels so like it just flows, and this one just feels like it's, I don't know, more of a struggle and a little overcooked on the production end things. So yeah, I do like, there's a lot of things on here I like, but it wasn't 90125, and I was a little disappointed. Here's another album I was disappointed with when it came out, Genesis, We Can't Dance. And I'm still, to this day, I still struggle with this album. I'm a champion of 80s Genesis stuff, but this is like 90s Genesis. And right, didn't this come out in 90? Yeah, 91. And I remember I thought No Son of Mine was a pretty good single, but I was like, I wasn't psyched about the rest of the record. It just didn't feel like there was something missing on this album. And it felt like, it's interesting that Phil left after this record, because I think he was sort of checked out by the time they were making this album. I mean, he was happy to do it and make it, but I don't think that he was, like, fully invested. That's my theory on this album. I think he was sort of one foot out the door while they were making this. And Tony, I think they were kowtowing to Phil a lot more, because Phil just by this point was a massive superstar, and he was calling the shots a lot more. And I don't hear Tony as much on this record. I don't think that Tony's pushing his ideas. There's moments here and there, but the single, I mean, I Can't Dance is that one was just like, I wasn't into that song at all. And I saw the video where it was sort of jokey, and I was like, yeah, and they're doing the dance, and I was like, oh man, I don't know, it's just a lot of things. And the rest, the album, the songs just aren't that good. It's just my opinion. I mean, people might say that they disagree with me, but I just don't think the songs on this album are that good. It's like they're on, like, cruise control with this album. They're not, and it just, every time I listen to it, I want to like it. I really want to like it. Genesis is one of my favorite bands of all time. I really want to like it, but I just never really do. So I don't know. This is the one album to me that's sort of an outlier in the Genesis catalog. I just can't really get into, and I don't know, something's missing. But anyway, there you go. And I saw the tour, and the tour was kind of too. Like, I remember feeling like it wasn't as good as the previous show I had seen, which was 83. So there you go. We Can't Dance. I was just disappointed with it when it came out. Okay, I'm saving the best for last. This is the one that was probably this is probably the one that was the biggest disappointment of all of these. I was like, wow. And that is American Dream by Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young. This album was like, I mean, this album followed Deja Vu. That's all you have to say. And it took them so long to make it. And they almost made a follow-up in, like, 73, I think it was, Human Highway. They were so close. And that album would have been probably very good, based on the song listings that they had. But this album, it's sort of, you know what? By this point, they had lost all momentum. I mean, Deja Vu was, I just keep going back to that. Deja Vu is an absolute banger classic, and then this album comes out, and, like, everyone's like, oh my God, CSNY is getting back together. They're going to make an album. Even in 86, people were still excited about this. I was, because I was a huge fan, and Neil basically said, Crosby, if you get clean after your drug struggles, if you get clean, I will make a CSNY record. So maybe that's the beginning of the problems, where it's like, if you're making a promise to someone, oh, I'll make a record with you if you get clean. I mean, that's the only reason you want to do it. And Stills is not on top of his game at all on this album either. I mean, Crosby is still recovering, and Stills is, like, not in great shape. He even admitted that, and he just wasn't in great shape during the making of this. And his material is kind of, I mean, because, Deja Vu, he was on top of it. Stills was on fire. And then this album, he's not on fire at all. And not even close. He's not even, he's lukewarm at best. And And let's face it, Neil Young always gave his B material to Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. I mean, even back in the day. But back in the day, his song satchel was so strong that he could give out B sides, and it was still amazing. You know, I mean, even his B sides back in '71 were just unbelievable, right? Even the stuff that he was like throwing to the side. But by '80, let's be honest, by '86, you know, what is this? '86, '88? Am I getting the year right on this? Oh God, I think it's 88. Maybe it's 88. Um, yeah, 88. I keep saying 86. 88 is when it came out. So, but but he, you know, I mean, American Dream, the title track. I remember hearing that American Dream, American Dream, like flutes, and I was like, what is this? Like, wow, this is the title track. This is, yeesh. Uh, so anyway, there's a couple moments on this. There's a couple songs that are not bad on this, but I mean, Compass is pretty cool actually. Name of Love has some is kind of cool, but there's a couple of just terrible songs on here. I mean, ugh, like there's a couple I can't even remember. I mean, Drive-In Thunder is terrible. That's a terrible Stills track. That Girl of another kind of bad track. Soldiers of Peace, I don't even know how that goes. I mean, there's just a bunch of songs on this that are just, let's just put it this way, it's not even a patch on Deja Vu. I mean, this is like so far from Deja Vu, it's not even funny. So it was just talk about massive, massive, massive disappointment. In fact, if you really want to dig more into this, there's Todd in the Shadows does Train Records on this, and it's actually very funny. I mean, that guy's hilarious. The way he does it, it's so funny. But he nails it. I mean, a lot of what he says is very true. It's harsh. It's sort of like the harsh truth about this record. So, but check that video out, Todd in the Shadows. He does Train Records on this, and it's right on the money. So yeah, I would say this is one of my bigger I remember buying this and being like, oh my God, this is not even close to what they used to be. You know, it just wasn't a good time for them, I guess. Not timing was bad. So, anyway, that's it. That's it. Short and sweet. Just wanted to go through a couple of CDs where I was massively disappointed when the album came out, and still to this day, still pretty about it. What do you guys think of these records? Let me know. Maybe somebody's going to say you're crazy. I don't know what you're talking about. That's insane. I love We Can't Dance, or I love American Dream, or I love Big Generator. So I'm sure I'll get some of that. But let me know what you guys think. This is just my opinion. I just figured I'd get on here and just do a slightly negatively tinged video and see if people watch more of that, because people seem to like the negative stuff. So there you go. There's some negative content for you. And some of these are my favorite bands. I mean, like I said, there's probably the reason that I'm massively disappointed is because they're some of my favorite artists. I love them. And, you know, I still obviously own the record. You can see it. I still have the album. So, but let me know. Let me know in the comments what you think. And of course, always like and subscribe. It helps the channel. I really appreciate it. If you're, you know, if you like this content, please hit subscribe. It just helps me to grow the channel and want to do more. So I appreciate you. Thanks a lot. And we'll see you next time on Curless Mania. See ya.